Okay, and the next chapter what we're going to see is human health and disease. And health, we know it is a concept of being well, and it was stated that our immune system maintains our health and our mind influences it through our neural control system, that is brain. Okay, what is health? It is a complete state of physical, mental, social well-being, and health is not only the absence of disease but also the ability to realize one's potential. And there are three reasons for a disease, that is genetic abnormalities which is from birth, and sometimes it may be due to virus, bacteria, parasites, nematodes, etc. like that, and it can be also sometimes be of non-living things like air pollutants, chemicals, low oxygen, heat or frost, or even mechanical impact. And disease is of two types, one is congenital and other is acquired. Congenital means it has been present from our birth, and acquired means only develops after our birth. And acquired is of two types, that is communicable and non-communicable disease. Communicable means it spreads from person to person, whereas non-communicable it doesn't spread. And non-communicable is of 5 types. The first one is degenerative disease. Degenerative disease means one of our organ is not functioning properly, so that leads to degenerative disease. Deficiency disease means there is no not sufficient amount of nutrients we take in our food, so that leads to deficiency. Allergies means the sensitivity of our body which reacts to a foreign substances which enters into our body. And cancer, we know it is caused due to a abnormal cell growth, and other disease may be caused due physical agents or any other reasons also. Communicable disease may be of 5 types, that is it can occur from viruses, bacteria, fungi, protozoa and rickettsia. Let us see some bacterial disease. Example, typhoid and pneumonia, and the causative agent for typhoid is Salmonella typhi. What happens in typhoid is this organisms enters the small intestine through contaminated food or water, and symptom for this typhoid is high fever, that to 39 to 40 degrees Celsius, followed by weakness, constipation, headache and loss of appetite. And the next is pneumonia. The causative agent here is as I said, Staphylococcus pneumoniae, and the part which gets affected is our alveoli in the lungs, due to which the alveoli get filled with the fluid and which leads to difficult in breathing. Symptoms include fever, chills, cough, headache, etc. And the next is the viral disease, that is dengue, and the causative agent for here is flavivirus, which is being transmitted by Aedes aegypti mosquito. Symptoms include fever, severe front headache, pain in joints, nausea and vomiting. And the next is protozoan disease, example malaria, and the causative agent here is Plasmodium species of protozoan, and symptoms include illness, shaking, chills, headache, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, etc. And what happens in malaria is the mosquito injects its sporocyte, which is very harmful to the human being while feeding on its blood, and this sporocytes directly enters into the liver of the human being. There it used to burst out and release more sporocytes in the blood. Further it reaches the RBCs and gets multiplied, millions of it, and therefore the symptoms comes out in the human like fever and chills, and later those are formed into gametocytes, both male and female. And when this human is being fed by another mosquito, the mosquito gets the the sporozoites. That sporozoite leads to, enters into the intestine of the mosquito and fertilization occurs there, and the infective sporocytes migrate into the salivary gland, and if that mosquito goes and bites another human with no malaria, again the malaria will spread. And the next is the helminthic disease, example elephantitis, and the causative agent here is Wucheria bronchiecti and Wucheria malayi. And usually the lymphatic vessels of lower limbs and genital organs get affected in this disease. And the next is the fungal disease. The causative agent here is the ring fungi belonging to genera Microsporum, Trichophyton and Epidomophyton. And the symptoms include dry and scaly lesions, and which may occur in various parts of our skin, nails and also scalp. Actually the ringworms, the name it says ringworms, right, but it is not caused by worms, but it is caused by fungi. So it is a fungal infection. And how to prevent all these infections? By vaccination and environmental sanitation, keeping it clean. Vector control means loss of mosquitoes, and then reduction of population growth, urban planning, safe sex education, and then testing and diagnosing in proper time and giving a correct treatment, promotion of hygiene practices, and also food productivity, food nutrition should be proper, reduction of contact with wildlife and livestock, and then biodiversity preservation and reduction of climate change, and also risk communication. Now let us see about non-communicable disease, which include cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and then coronary respiratory disease and chronic respiratory disease and cancer. The first one is cancer. And we all know cancer is most dreaded disease, that is a major cause of death across the world. And let us see the biology of cancer. What happens in cancer? If you take a normal cells, the cell growth and cell differentiation is highly controlled and regulated. So that called as contact inhibition. But whereas in the cancerous patient, the cells grow and they don't stop their growth. So that is that happens when there is no contact inhibition. Okay. So the cancers do not have this property. As a result, the cell used to continue to divide, producing masses of cells called as tumors or neoplasm. And tumors is called as an unorganized mass of cells formed due to uncontrolled division of cells. And these tumors of two types, one is benign, another is malignant. Benign, they remain in their original position and they don't spread to the other organs, but whereas this malignant, it is very dangerous and they are capable of spreading all over the body. And causes of cancer include physical, biological and chemical. Physical, it includes ultraviolet rays and X-rays, whereas biological means like caused by bacteria, viruses and parasites. Chemicals used by us, that is arsenic, alcohol and even smoking. And how can we diagnose these type of cancers? First we can do physical exam and biopsy. Biopsy is like cutting the part of the tissues and then investigating in the microscope, that is biopsy. X-rays we can see through our X-rays, CT scan or MRIs, and also bone scan, also PET scan. This PET scan is unique for this type of cancers. And treatment is first one is the surgery. Surgeries means they will remove the tumors or part of the tumors in the body, and the next is the radiotherapy. Radiotherapy, what they do is they eradicate the tumor cells by giving lethal dose of radiation. And next is chemotherapy. Drugs are used to kill these cancer cells, but there are also many side effects which includes alopecia and anemia. And the last therapy is the immunotherapy. Immunotherapy means they'll alter the biological response which is present in our body, like alpha interferons. They will activate the immune system and destroy the tumor cells present in the body. And next is immunity. What is immunity? The ability of the body to fight against the disease causing agent, that is called as immunity. And this immunity is of two types, innate and acquired immunity. Innate means it is from our birth, and whereas acquired means we develop during our lifetime only. It is of two types, active and passive. Active means develops in response to infection or vaccination, whereas this passive means it comes from our mother or from someone through antibodies. Actives of two types, natural and artificial. Natural means antibodies developed after an infection, whereas artificial means response to an vaccination. Whereas in passive, it is of two types, natural and artificial. Natural, it is been received from our mother through breast milk, and whereas artificial means it is received from any other medicine. Immune responses, there are of two types, is primary and secondary immune responses. Primary means it is the first time the pathogen enters into our body. So, that is primary response, it is of low intensity. Secondary means the same pathogen which has been entered for the first time, it enters the body second time, that is secondary response, and it is highly intensive. And this primary and secondary responses are carried out with the help of two lymphocytes, that is B and T, that is differentiated into humoral immune responses and cell mediated immune responses. And primary immune response means they are the primary contact with an antigen, but here they are subsequent contacts, and it takes place between 7 to 10 days, but here it is only 3 to 5 days because they are already exposed to that particular infection in secondary immune response, and they have prolonged period, but it establishes in a short time, and there is a rapid decline in the antibody level in primary immune, but in secondary immune they remain higher for long periods, and it mainly it appears in lymph nodes and spleen. Here it is bone marrow followed by spleen and lymph nodes. Okay, what is antigen and what is antibodies? Antigen is a substance which enters into a body, and the antibodies from our body fights it. Antibodies, as I said, when the antigen enters into a body, they used to fight and show some defense. So, that is antibodies. So, they are made up of immunoglobulins, that is class of proteins. Okay, what is vaccination and immunization? What is vaccination? Vaccination means just a dose of getting the vaccine, that's all. Immunization means getting the vaccine done and also having an immune against particular disease is known as immunization. Okay. What is autoimmunity? Autoimmunity means the own cells in our body think some foreign particle has been entered into our body and they used to fight against the natural things which is present in our body. So, that is autoimmunity, and it is of three types, and it is due to genetic predisposition, environmental factors, and also hormonal factors. Allergy, and allergy, it is an hypersensitivity response in which when some external features enters into our body, foreign particles. Symptoms include allergic reactions like sneezing, watery eyes, rashes, running nose, difficulty in breathing, etc. And this allergy usually occurs due to the release of histamine, serotonin from the mast cells. These histamines and serotonin are associated with basophils. Yes, very good. Okay, these are the places where our immune is present. There are two types, primary lymphoid organs and secondary lymphoid organs. Primary lymphoid organs include bone, marrow and thymus, and whereas secondary includes lymph nodes, spleen and tonsils, which is present in the throat, tonsils. Okay, AIDS. What is AIDS? Is AIDS communicable or non-communicable? Yes, it is communicable, and AIDS refer to acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Syndrome means multiple symptoms, so it has many symptoms, so that is referred to as syndrome, and it is caused by an HIV, that is human immunodeficiency virus. And as given in the picture, it is transmitted through unprotected sex or even from drug addicts, blood transfusion, pregnancy and non-sterile instruments, and it is not transmitted in some cases like touching through food and insect bites or in the pool. And what happens in the HIV life cycle? First, the HIV binds to the host cell, that is inside the human, and fusion occurs. The HIV virus fuses with the cell membrane, which allows the HIV contents including RNA and reverse transcriptase, other proteins to enter into the cell first, and after that the HIV RNA converts the DNA present in the body into the virus through reverse transcriptase enzyme. After that, HIV used to produce long chains of HIV proteins which can be used to build more HIV virus. And HIV proteins and RNA move to surface of cells and also assembled into immature HIV, and after that they have been pushed out of the cell and they are activated in the blood to mature infectious HIV. And what are the diagnosis? How can we detect them? By doing ELISA test, and the full form for ELISA is enzyme linked immunosorbent assay, and also by Western blot and Q quantitative PCR. And treatment for HIV includes stem cell based gene therapy, in which a genetically engineered hemopoietic stem cell transplant with anti-HIV genes, and also there is a latency reversible, that is using HIV drugs and then reactivate the HIV cells, then the immune system targets and kills those cells. How to prevent all these AIDS? How to prevent them? By making blood safe from HIV free patients, and also use only disposable needles and syringes in public and private hospitals, and can also control drug abuse. And next is drug, alcohol, adolescents, drug and alcohol abuse. Tobacco addiction. What is tobacco? Smoking, right? It has been obtained from a tobacco plant and can be smoked, chewed, or also used as a snuffer. And if a person smokes, what are the risk factors? He can get cancer or chronic disease like stroke, blindness, gum infection, aortic rupture, heart disease, pneumonia, and also reduced fertility and sometimes hip fracture. Okay, what is drug dependent and drug addiction? Addiction, it is addicted to something and you cannot survive without that. Dependent means the one person is dependent on the drug for their life. And effects of drugs and alcohol abuse includes reckless behavior, aggressive depression, fatigue and all, and sometimes it leads to chronic damages on nervous system and causes liver cirrhosis, and they also have a high risk of getting AIDS and hepatitis B. And how to control these kind of addictions and dependence? By avoid under peer pressure, and also educating and counseling is very important, seeking help from elders and parents, and seeking professional and medical help. From these we can avoid them. Elements and prevention, as I said earlier, that is to avoid under peer pressure, educating and counseling, seeking help from peers, and